It's Monday, November 9. This is the news on PBCJ. I'm Simone Absalom. Flood waters once again descended on Wees Road in Bull Bay, St. Thomas, forcing some residents to flee their homes on Saturday and Sunday. On their return Monday morning, the scale of the disaster had many pensive about what the future holds, as the forecast is for more rain. Our reporter Marlon Samuels has more on the flooding on Wees Road and its aftermath in this report.
The Chalky River burst its banks during the heavy rains on Sunday, sending floodwaters into the homes of residents of Wees Road, 9 Miles, Bull Bay. At least 16 people had to seek refuge in a bar and a shop close to the 9 Miles bridge facing Bobo Hill. They spent the night huddling together in the bar and a shop. The floodwaters transformed the road into a riverbed, while depositing sand, silt, and stones in their homes.
You can't come out of my lane for my trap. The main road is a come off. The main road is a come off. The main road. The main road is a come off. 9 Mile Bridge overflow right now. The main road is a come over.
The gushing water also affected residents of Beach Road.
This is how go on, people. Rain come back down, gully banks. There's no road. I thought it was a road, but I guess it's gully. You get me? Pure gully. Look. Don't get it wrong, under my house, but look there. 318 water around going to people's house in the town. 318. Watch it. So me I say, no copy. Watch it.
Bull Bay is located in the floodplains of 5 rivers, namely the Salt Spring River, Chalky River, Bull Park River, Spring Gut River, and Cane River.
Yeah, yesterday when I'm in the house, I hear the wind sound come and when I look the whole of this bus way, and I just decided to come out of the house because I couldn't even take out nothing.
My name is Babette Maraj. I've been living here for 25 years, and for the first time, this is the first the flood come out like this. We all had to come out after the water went down for a while. Then we started to do some cleanup, and then we left and go other places, to our family places, to sleep and come back this morning.
Bull Bay has been the subject of several floods over the years. The land is low-lying with an elevation of 150 feet or 46 meters above sea level. For the news on PBCJ, I am Marlon Samuels.
The National Works Agency deployed work teams and heavy equipment to clear several roads made impossible due to the landslides. The torrential rains affecting the island triggered several landslides in Portland, St. Thomas and St. Mary. There was also a massive landslide in Gordon Town, St. Andrew. Carl Francis has more in this report.
There are fears there will be more land slippages along the Gordon Town Main Road in St. Andrew due to the constant rains pounding the island since November 1. A landslide during a lull in the heavy rain affecting the island sent residents in the vicinity of village scampering for safety.
This is what the road looked like at Gordon Town. This is immediately after you leave out of village. And it's breaking, it's breaking, it's breaking. And I'm talking about some massive stones are coming down. Aye! Head bar, head bar, head bar, head bar, head bar! All being played out right in front of your eyes. Look at this, look at that, look at that, look at that. Here it comes.
Some residents were cut off from their homes due to a massive landslide.
Look at this, look at this, look at this, look at this, oh my God! Look at this, look at this, look at this, oh my God, oh my God! Oh my God, look at that man! Oh my God, man, this is crazy! coming! Man, this is crazy! Look at this, it is coming same way, man. No, man, this is the worst that it ever could be. And it is not over yet.
This is very urgent in Gordon Town. The main road in Gordon Town is gone. Look at it. The main road is gone. The main road in Gordon Town is gone completely at this moment. Everything is gone. It's just a walking track they leave on the main road. We need National Work Agency emergency. We need Miss Oldness. We need the Prime Minister. The main road in Gordon Town has gone. To the river.
Common consequences of heavy or torrential rains are landslides and flash floods, which decimate homes and destroy entire neighborhoods. The impact of landslides can be catastrophic in the loss of life, the destruction of infrastructure and agriculture, totaling hundreds of millions of dollars. Of great concern is the increasing prevalence of these events, which many scientists link to climate change. For the news on PBCJ, I'm Carol Francis.
In the midst of the destruction brought on by the torrential rain was a ray of hope. Residents of Wees Road joined hands to rescue a 10-year-old Tiandra Robinson, who was being swept away by flood waters.
The water coming suddenly and stuff. I try to like me come over my house, leave over my uncle, same yard, but leave over my uncle and eat breakfast. So me see the rain, the gully I get back, so me say I'll pick up birth paper, my birth paper, to move. So when me come to my house, pick up birth paper, when me come out, the water trap me down there. Can't reach back up to my uncle there.
And then what happened after that?
Well, she said when she in her own room with my uncle, when the water started coming, she gets scared and run out. So the water wash her over next door and somebody grab her.
I try to remove some stuff. And my boyfriend say, a little girl in the water, and him ball out, watch the little girl, watch the little girl. So I turn around and spot her, but I realize say, I'm my sister, little goddaughter, and she live like 3 houses up from where I live. So I start ball out her name because my neighbor happens to be outside, standing up at his grill. So I ball out to him, and I alert him, and him, well, luckily her reflex good. She stretch out her hand and him grab her.
Julia! Catch her again! Catch her!
I was in my yard doing something and rain come and block me out. And I'm on the outside and see her washing coming down. And now my friend called her and grab onto her, save her. At the same time, my house damaged, car mash up and everything.
There's a call for areas in rural St. Andrew to be declared a disaster zone. President of the Jamaica Coffee Exporters Association, Norman Grant, says the recent rains have battered the road network in that part of the island.
I am making an urgent call to the government that in cabinet they should approve that Parliament moves a motion tomorrow to declare East Rural St. Andrew and the surrounding areas, in fact, throughout the extended Blue Mountain range, a disaster zone. This is due to the colossal damage that has been recorded over the last 3 days, and in particular over the last 2 weeks. This is a call that I made earlier on behalf of the 5,000 coffee farmers and the 102,000 coffee farm families. The roads in the East Rural St. Andrew has been severely damaged. From Gordon Town, there's a cutoff of that main road affecting communities like Goveridge, Mavis Bank, Osdelight, Robertsfield, Mount Charles, St. Peter's, Content. There have also been damage in West St. Thomas and also some areas in Portland. So the effect of the rain over the last 36 hours have been devastating.
Mr. Grant wants the government to focus on rehabilitating rural roads and establish a robust road maintenance program.
We can't stop the rain, but what we can do is to implement a preventative maintenance program that will prevent the recurrence. And the reason for the call for the disaster zone is to allow the government to allocate well-needed resources to address these concerns.
He says the heavy rainfall has grinded the operation of coffee factories to a halt. This, he says, does not augur well for the multi-million-dollar industry within Jamaica's agricultural sector.
Prior to this weekend's rain, we estimate that the loss could be in the region of $100 million, which represents berries falling from trees. So the farmers have lost those. Trees that has been lost due to land slippages, the increase in the operating costs for the farmers to get to their farms and also to get to the factories because of black roads, spoilage of coffee, all of these has amounted to significant losses for the coffee farmers.
Meanwhile, Minister of Local Government and Rural Development Desmond McKenzie says talks are underway regarding declaring certain areas disaster zones.
Proper assessment has to be made, and we cannot only look at East Rural St. Andrew alone. I know the situation here is extreme, but it is something that we'll have to look at. It is something that we have been looking at.
Even as torrential rains pounded the island, an earthquake jolted the eastern end of the island at about 3 o'clock Sunday afternoon. Information from the earthquake unit is that the epicenter of the 3.4 magnitude quake, approximately 7 kilometers northwest of Trinityville, St. Thomas, had a focal depth of 6.9 kilometers. Persons reported hearing a rumbling coming, as they described it, from the belly of the earth. To find out the latest COVID-19 figures, we get this updated report by way of the Ministry of Health and Wellness.
Jamaica recorded 36 new COVID-19 cases over the past 24 hours. That leaves the case total at 9,542, and of that number, 4,242 are active cases. No deaths were reported over the period, leaving the number of deceased at 221. In the meantime, 18 new recoveries were reported, bringing that tally to 4,952. At this time, there are 20 moderately ill and 5 critically ill patients, while there are 74 persons currently in hospital. For the news on PBCJ, I'm Gabrielle Thompson.
The Ministry of Education, Youth and Information's planned reopening of 17 schools has been postponed. The postponement is due to the persistent rainfall and the forecast by the National Meteorological Service. A flash flood warning is in effect for all parishes. Yallas High is one of the schools scheduled to participate in the pilot face-to-face in-school teaching program. Principal Mark Mulliver outlined the challenges being faced.
School was inundated with water, as well as the roads leading down to the school, and based on that it was felt that it would have been best to postpone the reopening of school. We were getting ready for school. We have been getting ready. Yesterday, Sunday, the Ministry of Health came to give us a final bill of health. We had prepared assiduously. We had gotten everything, or most things, done that the Ministry of Health had recommended. We have been in dialogue with the Ministry of Education in terms of additional support that was needed. So we would have been ready for the commencement of school this morning, but unfortunately the weather conditions determined otherwise.
Mark Golding has been elected president of the People's National Party following his victory at the polls on Saturday. Mr. Golding received 1,740 votes to his opponent Lisa Hannah Lake's 1,444. Now over to Gabriel Thompson for news on Forex and other markets in the Business Report.
In Friday's trading session, the JSE Combined Index declined by 1,514 points to close at under 400,000 units. Overall market activity resulted from trading in 83 stocks, of which 34 advanced, 34 declined, and 15 traded firm. The Junior Market Index declined by 29 points to close at under 3,000 units. Stocks advanced for 1834 Investments Limited, Barita Investments Limited, and Berger Paints Jamaica. Stocks declined for Access Financial Services, AMG Packaging and Paper Company, and Caribbean Assurance Brokers Limited. Trading firm were 138 Students Living Jamaica, Caribbean Cement Company, and Caribbean Producers Jamaica Limited. Grace Kennedy Limited was the volume leader with 6.1 million units, followed by Trans Jamaican Highway Limited with 1.7 million units, and QWI Investments Limited with 1.3 million units. Now for the foreign exchange. The US dollar on Friday, November 6 ended trading at $148.46. The Canadian dollar sold for an average $114.41. The pound sterling traded for $195.21, and the euro ended trading at $178.42. Oil rose on Monday with Brent topping $40 a barrel after Joe Biden clinched the U.S. presidency and buoyed risk appetite, and the Saudi oil minister said an OPEC Plus deal on output cuts could be adjusted to offset rising supply and weak demand. Brent crude futures climbed $1.28 to $40.73 a barrel. West Texas Intermediate crude futures gained $1.26 to $38.40 a barrel. That does it for this edition of the Business Report on PBCJ. I'm Gabrielle Thompson.
In regional news, Trinidad and Tobago's Prime Minister Dr. Keith Rowley says restaurants and cinemas can resume serving food and beverages. This comes after restrictions imposed due to COVID-19. Dr. Rowley says the sectors can maintain a 50% capacity but warned that no alcohol can be served. We have more in this report.
Restaurants and cinemas can now restart in-house dining. Prime Minister Dr. Keith Rowley noted the responsibility now leans on the owners of the establishment to ensure customers obey COVID-19 regulations. For restaurants, this includes maintaining social distancing, wearing masks when not eating, and gathering in groups of no more than 10. Cinema-goers can now consume food while watching their favorite show, and capacity remains at 50%. Religious bodies can now have 90 minutes of worship, and Caribbean Airlines can increase their services on the inter-island air bridge, but with strict COVID-19 guidelines. As it relates to other sectors, Dr. Rowley asked for patience, adding that if positive COVID cases continue to decrease, they can begin to reopen.
I know that the people who operate bars are anxious to open their bars, but I simply want to say that when we are called upon to restrict the activities that we engage in, we just had to prioritize. We just have to prioritize. And entertainment and recreation were areas that we had to give up if we were going to keep health, water, food production, construction, manufacturing. So for a little while longer, we would hold the current situation.
Meanwhile, Dr. Rowley reconfirmed that there will be no Carnival 2021. He said his main focus at present is getting children to return to school come January next year.
I am hoping that we would be in a situation in January where we can get our children back to school. That is my next big hurdle. Will our children be able to go back to school? We have already said that there's going to be no carnival because we cannot really see a situation where you can have a carnival given what we are fighting and have been fighting since January. So we can make that call now. We've made that call already.
While other sectors have reopened, however, Dr. Rowley gave a warning to the public.
If we do not let the science guide us and the patience work, we could throw away everything that we've done so far. Because when you get to a stage, like some European countries have got to in recent weeks, the only response you can make to that is to go back to a serious piece of shutdown and restriction. And that is where the real hurt will come.
Kimberly D'Souza, reporting for TTT News.
In Guyana, schools will reopen its doors to teachers and students of Forms 4, 5, and 6 on Monday. President of the Guyana Teachers Union is hoping that there will be an agreed rotation system in place so that students and teachers are not present every day.
As it is now, the Ministry of Education is allowing schools to employ their own system for reopening. Some schools have already indicated that they will put a shift and rotation system in place. The GTU president told News Source this evening that the safety of students and teachers is paramount.
As you are aware, the grade 10 and 11 students, grade 10, 11, and 12, that would be 4th, 5th, and 6th formers, are the students who will be returning. And so in every school, you find that only a percentage or a small number of teachers may be teaching those levels. So first and foremost, those teachers will be required to be there. Some schools will operate a shift, but we are pushing so that the ministry can work with those schools to do a rotation, because we believe if a child comes in the morning and has to go home in the afternoon because the shift is finished, then that child is likely to be liming around with a friend or in a shop. So we believe that the rotation system would be better, and we advocate that schools adopt the rotation where they come for a day, they spend the entire day, they go home. They may not be required to come the next day, but maybe coming the following day. So the rotation, in our view, would be better. But as it is presently, schools are allowed right now to adopt their own, what will work for them.
Mr. Light held a virtual meeting with the Education Minister Priya Manik Chand and other education officials and union reps today. He said the GTU is satisfied with some of the systems being employed to ensure the safety of teachers and students at school.
Well, the meeting today was to look at what the ministry indicated that they will put in place, what was outstanding. So far as the care package, we believe it's a good initiative to give our teachers and the learners care packages. And we are satisfied that the teachers are getting some sort of a package that could help them to stay healthy for a period of time. And we will be working with the ministry to ensure that those packages are replenished when they are finished.
Schools in Guyana have been closed since March because of the coronavirus pandemic. The Caribbean Examination Council has been moving full steam ahead with plans for the regional examinations for next year, forcing schools across the region to start the reopening phase for those students who will have to prepare for those regional examinations.
Political candidates vying for election in Barbados' St. George North constituency are winding down their campaigning for Wednesday's by-election. More from Barbados today.
It's just 48 hours before the constituents of St. George North will cast their ballots to elect a new MP. The 5 political candidates are expected to be out and about, making their final appeal to the electorate today. The candidates are all upbeat about their chances in the race, deemed as a straight fight between Tony Moore of the Barbados Labour Party and Floyd Reefer of the Democratic Labour Party. In an interview with Barbados Today, Reefer said his campaign was effective and he's ready to be of service to the community which nurtured him.
I am a man of integrity. I'm a community person. And I was born and bred in St. George North. I was born and bred in Parish Land, St. George. I grew up in this community, and I know what the community wants. And I've gotten my opportunity, through the community in terms of playing sport. And somebody spotted me within the community and gave me that opportunity. So I can always give back to this community.
In a video on her Facebook page, Tony Moore pledged to use the values she gained as a young member of the Warborn Wesleyan Holiness Church in St. George to represent the constituency in the House of Assembly.
I came here from the age of 15, and it was here that I learned the heart of service, many of the principles that took me into trade unionism. I am therefore pleased that those principles have followed me and that I will be able to use those foundation teachings to serve the people of St. George North.
Grenville Phillips Jr. is confident that he can bring much relief to the people of St. George North who want better housing, roads, and improved standard of living.
They could choose me perhaps because a lot of the problems that they complain about, and the other candidates have also identified these, are problems that I am well suited to address. We learn about the housing, the condition of houses, and as a structural engineer, I'm trained to improve the condition of houses.
The United Progressive Party's Ambrose George has a clear plan to execute to improve the lives of constituents once he is successful after Wednesday's vote.
There are issues in St. George which have not been addressed, which have been outstanding for a long while. Secondly, there is my level of programming which we want to introduce. And thirdly, is that I'm told the constituents that there is a crying need for more opposition in the House of Assembly.
David Walron of the People's Party for Democracy and Development maintains he's the best candidate to represent the interests of the people of St. George North in the House of Assembly.
I have a history of service to the community. I'm a bred and born St. George North person, and I love St. George North.
In sports, a national football player has been placed in isolation after testing positive for COVID-19 en route to Saudi Arabia. He is in isolation in London and he'll be returning home. 3 other players who were in quarantine with him were determined as low risk and have been allowed to continue the journey under observation by the team's doctor. The Reggae Boys squad will be tested and quarantined for 3 days when they get to Saudi Arabia. In other sporting news, Jamaican swimmer Alia Atkinson's 50-meter breaststroke unbeaten run dating back to 2016 was broken on the weekend. She placed 3rd in the event at the International Swimming League in Budapest, Hungary. Atkinson delivered 2nd-place finishes in the 100 meters breaststroke and the 4x100 medley relay. She also placed 2nd in the 50 meters breaststroke skins race. She was swimming as part of the London Roar team. And that's the news on PBCJ. Thank you so much for watching.